Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned photographer, getting the most out of your Nikon DSLR or any camera requires a few tips and tricks. Let's check them out in this video. Hey guys. Ouch! Ouch! Okay. Let's talk about photography tips today. Why not? It's something that I feel like everyone should know, especially if you're a brand new photographer. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Welcome back to this new video that we're doing today. I just want to talk about some essential things that I think every new photographer should know, whether you're a Nikon user or just getting into photography. Heck, you need to know this stuff because you might be buying a new camera. There have been so many people on my channel buying used DSLRs that are older, especially like Nikon D200s, D7000s, D80s, you know, 500, well, 500s aren't that old, but still, you know, D90s, all those. They've been buying old cameras. And I think it's essential for you guys to understand, you know, not necessarily the people that have been taking pictures for a long time, but the new users. There's some people out there that are just becoming photographers. And I feel it is very important for people to know what they're getting into when they're getting into photography. Yes, it is fun. Yes, it is definitely a great hobby. And yes, it can take you so many places. But when you are using your equipment, you might be forgetting some things while using it. And here in this video, I'm just going to tell you some of those things that you may not think of when you're using your gear to help you understand that those things are important and they might need to be thought about while you're taking pictures. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and go off my list of the things that I have compiled for you guys to listen to on this video about what I think is important. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is tripod. So I'm sure a lot of you have a tripod, which is great because it is one essential tool that you might need when you're taking pictures. And yes, it is an essential tool because if you're taking nighttime pictures and you are taking pictures that, you know, have a long exposure, you're going to more than likely use a tripod. Not to mention if you are basically trying to get motion lapses or anything like that, you know, stars, you know, you're going to need a tripod for sure. But there is one major thing that you guys need to consider. If you are using image stabilization, including VR, on Nikon especially, Nikon uses the VR system, you want to make sure that you turn off your image stabilization. Yes, turn off the VR switch on your camera. Because if you do not, you basically have a risk of getting a vibration in your lens, in your camera, in your photo when you are taking those long exposures with VR on. So make sure when you have this is only if you're using a tripod. So if you have your camera with a VR lens mounted onto a tripod, just make sure you switch that VR off because you're going to save yourself a headache. And when you end up pixel peeping, and yes, you probably will pixel peep because that's what most people do, including myself, you might just see a vibration or a small blur and you'll wonder why in your photo. Now, if you do tend to use film lenses like I do, you will not have that problem. But I do have a couple of VR lenses, and yes, that could potentially lead to a blurry image if you're not careful, because what is happening is when you are using VR, it is trying to accommodate any kind of camera shake that might be happening when you are, hand holding your camera, trying to take a picture. Now, that's not gonna probably, be so noticeable at a high shutter speed. But when you are using lower shutter speeds and you have to use a tripod in low light, yes, that could potentially be an issue. So just make sure it's switched off, okay? The next tip that I have for you, if you do use an older Nikon camera, or a camera that basically uses a compact flash card, like my little D200 here, you might be using a compact flash card adapter. Now, those compact flash card adapters are a lifesaver. They are wonderful because I tell you, the only kind of compact flash card that I own is probably 2 gigabyte. And that was when they're $30 for 2 gigabytes. I have not bought a new compact flash card because they are still 30 bucks, but 30 bucks for a higher end, more spacious compact flash card. I mean, yes, I would like to get one, but it's not cost effective right now because I own a ton of SD cards for my newer cameras, so I bought myself a compact flash adapter. Now, those are fantastic. They are great. They work. And I mean, there are little things you have to be careful of. Don't push them in the wrong way. Don't put them in the wrong way because you can potentially damage the pins in your camera. There are little tiny pins in the bottom of this slot that can be damaged if you're not careful. That's if you're going to be using compact flash, that's going to be something you have to be aware of. Now, the whole reason I say that these compact flash cards aren't the best, and I'm saying that right now, compact flash is great. They are the best for this type of camera. But the compact flash card adapter isn't as good as a compact flash card because the compact flash card is faster at rendering than a compact flash card adapter. Because what you're doing is you have 2 connection points. One is where the SD card goes into the compact flash card adapter, and then you have the compact flash card adapter which goes into the camera. So, and the speeds are different. So it's not going to be all one speed, whereas if you have a compact flash card, it's going to be faster. So if you do use one of these older cameras like I do, I have a D700, D200, heck, the D300S even takes compact flash cards. I am using those, but you may want to consider to buy an actual compact flash card or just use a compact flash card adapter. They are just going to be slower. The compact flash card adapter with an SD card is going to be slower at rendering photos. So just something to keep in mind about that, okay? Just thought I'd give that little tip right there in case you do go that route. I highly recommend the compact flash card adapter. They're great. They work. I haven't had an issue, and I really love what they do. It's a great thought. The next thing that I want to talk about is, and I think this is a really important tip, is golden hour. Now, we in life have sunset and we have nighttime. Excuse me. So when you go take pictures, some of the best times of day are golden hour. And I'd say that's the best time of day that you're actually going to get really beautiful pictures. Okay? And that's usually an hour after sunrise and an hour before sunset. That's going to be the best time to take some pictures. Now, of course, you have blue hour, which is completely different than golden hour. But you just have to, if you really want some really nice pictures, this could be something that you might want to try. But yes, golden hour is key when you want to get some really beautiful pictures for landscapes, portraits. I'd say it is one of the best times of day to go take pictures because when you go out, say midday, you're gonna more than likely get really, really harsh light, especially if it's like bright sunlight. You're gonna get harsh light and really harsh shadowing. And when you are taking pictures, that can be really I don't know, it could be really bad when you get those shadows, you know, really sharp. They're just really, really sharp shadows and really bright. So when you go out and take pictures, that's kind of something you'll look for. Now you can easily ask your smart device. I'm sure you might have one. A lot of people do. And if you're a flip phone user, then go ahead and you know, look it up online. But you can go ahead and see when your sunrise is and when your sunset is. Then you can kind of plan your day accordingly when you want to go take pictures, if you're taking portraits or landscapes or anything like that. Now, of course, if it's a cloudy day, that's a completely different story. But this is some of the best time of day that you're going to get some of your best photos. Now, given I'm not the best at getting out early, I'm not, because I work late, and I'm not the best at getting to golden hour either. So you may be more fortunate than I am getting to that time of day. But I will tell you, when I have taken pictures during those times of day, oh my gosh, it was fun, because how the light was just setting with the sun, oh my, it was wonderful, I have to say. So go ahead and give it a try. If you're a new photographer, I highly recommend you go ahead and do this method. You go out and take pictures at that time of day and see what you think. I guarantee you'll be quite surprised about the quality that you'll be getting in your photos because of the light that you're getting. Let's see, what is another tip? One thing that I do when I take pictures is I subconsciously, if not consciously, hold my breath. Every time I take a picture, I go, and I hold my breath every time. And it's just something I do, and you don't have to do it, but I think it's a good tip, because you as a human being are kind of moving in some ways. Now, if you are using a higher shutter speed, that's not going to matter. But if you're using a lower shutter speed, and say you are taking pictures at the later time, let's say golden hour, and you're not using a tripod, try holding your breath and see what happens. You actually might be able to get a sturdier picture. So if you don't have vibration reduction and you're using your camera handheld, that might be a good way to, you know, accommodate the motion blur a little bit more. Just hold your breath if you can. I'm not saying you have to, but if you can, try holding your breath and see if that helps. I know it helps me quite a bit, and it helps me be able to focus on my image a little more. I don't know why, but it's just something that I do. So that might help you. I don't know. But yeah, give it a try if you'd like to. Another thing that I think is really important for photographers, especially new people who are just learning photography and getting into it, remember composition. The rules of thirds when you are taking pictures is so very important. It is the balance of life. It is the balance of everything. The rules of thirds is actually more around you than you will ever know. When it comes to just the way your living room is set up, the way your desk is set up, anything like that, rules of thirds matters. It's like a photography feng shui, more or less, okay? So if you think about the rules of thirds, you have balance, okay? So when you see the grid, if you have your grid activated in your viewfinder on the back of your camera, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 lines usually, if not more. Sometimes grids have more lines, but you basically want to set the heaviest set part of your subject. So say the main subject, you know, in your image, off to the corner, the top corner, the bottom corner, not the middle. You do not want the middle, okay? You want the sides. Because what happens is when you actually, say the camera's a subject, okay? Where does your eye go? Your eye goes right here, because it's the darkest, most prominent thing. And then what happens is your eye moves around the image, and then it gets to the subject. So whenever you are composing your image, make sure you use the rule of thirds. It is so important because it brings your image balance. It gives it that clarity. It makes it so people understand what you're taking a picture of. And I can't express that enough. I myself had a problem getting used to using composition in my images when I first started. It was a very hard thing for me to do, and it does take some learning. It takes some training for your eye to really get into looking for that. And then when you start doing that, what you're gonna end up doing is starting to frame your image in your viewfinder, or even the back of your camera if you're using live view. It really is quite amazing. And if you look at, like, say, artwork, any kind of art that you have, or any kind of art that you've seen in, say, museums, you'll see that the rule of thirds was used. And a good example is just Starry Night. I love that painting, it's beautiful. But if you can see the tower and then the stars, it starts over here, the main subject, and then it just works its way around. It's beautiful. But it has been used for many years, and it's just how things are interpreted in art and life. So that's a tip that I have for anyone who's new or getting into photography. Keep in mind the rule of thirds, okay? The next thing I want to talk about is if for some reason you see an image, or not an image, if you see something you want to take a picture and you have your camera, and I can't tell you this enough, try to make sure you have some sort of camera with you. I mean, everyone has a phone, okay, which is great. Everyone has a phone. If you see something on the side of the road, or if you're passing by something and you think it's really cool, or something that you'll never see again, stop. Stop your car, stop your bike, wherever you're on, and you see it, just stop, take that picture, because I promise you, you'll never see it again exactly the same. Light changes, weather changes, heck, that scenery that you see could be gone tomorrow because of some kind of storm or something like that, or things change. So I'm telling you right now, one tip that I have for everyone, even professional photographers, stop and take the picture. That's, for new people, definitely keep a camera on you at any time you can. I mean, if you're not working, try to bring your camera with you, because if you see something you want to take a picture of and you don't have your camera, you're going to be sad. You're going to be regretting that you don't have your camera, and you're going to wish that you did, because I tell you, there have been times that I have gone places and I didn't have my camera. I'm like, why? Why don't I have my camera? My camera could have been with me and I could have gotten that amazing shot, and I didn't. And I missed out. So don't miss out on those shots. Bring camera with you, and if you can, take a picture of it with whatever device you have. I promise you, you won't regret it. Let's see. What else do I have to tell you? What else is a good tip for you guys? I would say background. Backgrounds in your subjects, okay? So when you're taking a photo of a subject, remember the background is going to show up whether it's blurred or focused, okay? When I am taking a picture of, say, macro photography, I want to get the best background I can. Even if it's blurred, the color is still going to be there, and you want to make sure that that background is either contrasting with the foreground or basically is matching it nicely. You don't want a bunch of like weird things in the background. You want to frame your subject, and you want to make sure that subject has good clarity. So for instance, okay, so say you have a subject of a very busy scenery. So say it's like one thing I can think of is a lake, not a lake, but a river with a bunch of fall trees. Okay, they're all brightly orange and everything like that. That's great and everything, perfect, it's beautiful. But when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your eyes aren't going crazy when you're looking at your subject. Okay, so say your subject's in the foreground, you have a beautiful orange tree that's full of fall leaves, and the background is fall leaves as well, and you have your little river running through it. Okay, I'm just creating scenery here through, through imaginary scenery, okay? And say you want to get this really beautiful tree that's in front of you. Make sure you do something about that background, okay? Blur it out if you have to by using a lower f-stop or a more open f-stop. So say f 2.8, okay? That will help the people who are viewing your image, if not you, understand what your subject is all about. Because so say you were to use f22 and everything was in focus, well, unless you're focusing on that river or that stream, your subject is going to be very busy looking, very busy. And I think people might get confused. Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful image, but the way it's composed matters, okay? And yes, you could do focus stacking and stuff like that, but sometimes, I mean, I love color photography, but sometimes those colors can be so prominent in the image that it just blows everything out of proportion. So kind of just try to find your background, trying to see, what you want to take a picture of, focus on your subject, and just, see what works for you, try to make it work for your image, okay? And just remember that that background is a backdrop for your subject, okay? That background is a backdrop for your subject. That's good to remember. Just like if you were to take a picture of a person, you have a backdrop. It's the same kind of thing. So just think about it like that, okay? Another tip that I have is if for some reason you have a black and white, or no, okay, if for some reason you have a photo that you love the foreground picture, you love the way that everything looks, but your sky just is disgusting, okay? For any of you new photographers who don't know how to use Photoshop or any kind of AI generation software, basically to where it will generate something for you, try just the basic thing first. Try turning your image into a black and white and see how it looks, and play with the contrast and see what you might be able to get out of the image with just changing and taking away all the color. Because sometimes an image might look completely different in black and white than a color interpretation. Okay, so go ahead and try that. See what you think. If you have a blown out sky and you're like, oh, this is a beautiful picture, it's a beautiful subject, but that sky is just hideous, I can't handle it. And sometimes, from my experience in editing photos, it can be kind of hard to get that harsh little line out in the background. Yes, there's a lot of good software now that will do it, but back when Photoshop was newer, that line was kind of hard to get rid of. You had to feather it out and, really use your cutting skills in Photoshop, and outline, the marquee tool and all that stuff. Try just turning your image into black and white first. See what you think, okay? And then go ahead and see if you like it, because you could have you could have a totally different image than what you think. Let's see. Oh, here is a great one. Here is one that I think is really important. I think that if you're not doing this already, do it immediately. Change your camera to shoot in RAW mode, okay? Now, I don't care if you use RAW plus JPEG, go for it. If you want some JPEGs to show your friends, JPEGs are great just to send off to people, go for it, okay? But make sure you are shooting in RAW every single time. I cannot emphasize this enough. RAW is your best friend. And why do I say that? Because RAW holds the most information. I beg you to try editing a JPEG image and see how far you go with it. When you understand how much light and darkness you can pull from a JPEG, or how little bit of light you can pull from a JPEG, you'll understand why RAW is so efficient and why it should be used every day. Just, if you do it, if you haven't done it yet, do it now. Switch your camera over to RAW JPEG, but just RAW most of all, because you will be able to pull every little detail out of those darks and lights that you weren't able to before. Even if you're using one of these old Nikon cameras, D200, D80, D90, D300S, D700, any of those cameras, you know, anything else that you might be using, like an old Canon or something, make sure you are using RAW, okay? I cannot emphasize that enough. There are so many people that just shoot JPEG, and I'm telling you right now, these cameras I bought used, they're all set to JPEG, okay? And when I say that, I get kind of scared when I see cameras that I get that were set to JPEG, and I'm like, no wonder they got rid of these cameras. They didn't know what they're missing out on. They got rid of these cameras without even giving these cameras life. And of course, you know, granted, these cameras have barely anything on them for shutter speed, you know, or not shutter speed, but for shutter count, you know, which, hey, all the better for the buyer, right? You know, there's a lot of people that don't realize when they buy a camera that they're missing out on the camera's full potential by not switching it over to RAW. RAW is your best friend. RAW is going to give you those professional photos that you bought the camera for. The camera, I mean, when you use JPEG, you're limiting yourself to how many megapixels you're getting. You know, this is a 10 megapixel. When you are shooting JPEG, you're not using its full potential. You're not using all those pixels to manipulate and change and, you know, twirl and twist and curve. You know, when you have that, the possibilities are endless. Yeah, granted this is 10 megapixels, but when you go into the 16 megapixels and, you know, the 24 megapixels, even for like the Nikon D610 and stuff like that, dang, you know, that could be a total game changer for you. So make sure you change that, okay? Another one that I think is really important is make sure, this is an important tip that I think everybody should at least think about, because I know there are some people that don't like it. Now, I'm talking about lens filters. I think when you don't want to use your lens cap, I highly suggest you buy a lens filter, okay? It could be UV, it could be a haze filter, it could be a star filter. I don't care what it is, but UV is my best friend. I use UV because UV is going to be the, you know, the most basic filter. And I not highly recommend you buy a higher end brand like Hoya and spend the extra money, because you're going to get that better quality glass on your lens. Now, and like I said before, there's some people that don't like to put glass on top of glass. I get that, you know, but I think I'd rather protect my lens if it gets scratched and just replace a filter instead of having to replace the lens. Because I don't care, I'll spend another 17 bucks on a filter or 18 bucks, you know, and then I want to buy an expensive lens again, you know, because once that lens is scratched, that's it. You know, you gotta buy a brand new lens because those optics are done for. So make sure you protect that, you know, that filter, that piece of element that's on the outside of your lens that's exposed with something. Because if you don't, you might end up buying a new lens because, oops, I put the lens in my pocket, if it fits in your pocket, or in my camera bag, and this sharp object scratched it. Well, you could have been safer with a filter. Yeah, you can take off filters, you can put your lens cap back on, you know, but when you have your lens open, that is a great option to use. And even on my cheaper lenses, I have a filter, you know, and even if it's a cheap filter, I still have something. But I highly recommend, if you want the best quality, buy Hoya. You know, Hoya's a good brand. It's gonna really get you what you want. Now, I'm not sponsored by Hoya. I'm not sponsored by Nikon, but I'm just telling you guys what I think is a good, you know, kind of product to buy, because that's, you know, that's what I've used, you know. And I really do recommend that you look into something to protect that glass, because this glass is way more expensive than any filter will be. So think about that, okay? Another tip that I have for you guys. When you are taking landscape photos, you don't always have to use a wide angle lens. Yes, wide angle will get the whole shot, but go ahead and try telephoto. Now, you may be asking, why, Chris, would you use a telephoto lens for a landscape? Well, there are good reasons why. If you have a subject that might be in the distance and you want, say, part of that landscape in your frame, you might want to try telephoto lens, because then what you could do is just zoom in to your subject and go ahead and get that depth that you're looking for, you know, in your image, you know. And sometimes it can make your image look really dramatic. And it just depends, of course, on the telephoto lens that you are using. But when you do use this, you know, go ahead and what it does is it pulls your subject in, and it makes it so you can actually, you know, kind of get that narrow view effect, and you can see your subject a little bit better. You know, say you have a beautiful tree. Okay, I'm going to say, for instance, the tree Monterey. Okay, there's a tree in Monterey that is on a cliffside, and it's just the lone cypress. Okay, yes, you can use a wide angle lens for that. Okay, this is just example. You can use a wide angle lens for that subject, but if you really want to get, you know, the actual subject and pull it in closer, try a telephoto lens. You know, that's just an example. You guys can look up that tree online. You'll see what I mean. But try using a telephoto lens for those subjects that are kind of far away from you that you can't reach, and just play around with it. And I highly recommend, whenever you go somewhere, bring a telephoto lens and a wide angle lens. You won't be disappointed in that, because then you'll have a whole range of, you know, zooms. And you'll have a whole, you know, you'll have the ability to take whatever pictures you want, more or less. So go ahead and give that a try. I highly recommend it. Let's see, another one that I really think is good. Another tip for you guys. Take your pictures at eye level. Now, eye level can mean many different things, okay? So say, for instance, you have a beautiful flower that's on the ground, or a butterfly or bug or something, and it's just down there below your knee level, okay? You should get down in the dirt, heck, even lay down for that matter, and take a picture of that subject. Get at eye level, like literally just climb down there and just be like, there it is. You know, I am taking a picture of this subject right here, laying on the ground, looking right at it. Because what happens is, if you look at the subject above you, you give it power. If you look at it below you, you give it weakness. Okay, this is kind of a thing. When you look at it eye level, you're equal. And that's a kind of, I mean, it's just kind of a way of thinking, you know, when you're taking pictures. When you look up, you're like, oh, that has more power. So, and actually, you can make images look pretty big when you do that too. But when you are, you know, say eye level, you're getting right where the subject is. You're giving it that equal balance of power. Okay? And you actually are getting it what the image is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to be interpreted as. And you're giving it everything it deserves, I would say. So that is something I highly recommend that you doing. Get on the ground if you can. I know some people can't because they hurt, you know. Just go ahead and you know, take a picture at that level. I think it's really important that you do. Just get down and dirty and do it because it'll be worth it. Okay? Take more than one shot. If anything, I have to tell you, take more than one shot because that one picture that you take may not be sharp, okay? Yes, you want it to be sharp, you have a fast lens, you might have a fast camera, but just if it's a subject that you are not sure about, put it on burst mode for fun and see what happens. Because I promise you, if you don't get one, you'll probably get one in that burst. And you'll be okay, okay? That's something I do. I think it's a great method of doing, of taking pictures because, I mean, yes, you use your shutter, and I don't recommend you do it all the time, but just do it because sometimes, because you're going to end up saving yourself not getting that shot, and I think that matters. Oh, and you know, another one, make sure you are shooting in manual, not manual focus necessarily, but manual mode on your camera. Try to avoid auto, you know, modes as much as possible because what's going to end up happening is you will end up losing out on the extra technicalities that camera has to offer, okay? I think it's really important that you guys use your manual features on your camera. That way you can get more in tune with your camera as a tool and as a photographer because it will help you tune and hone your skills and help you be able to understand how the science of photography really works. Well, guys, I think that's it. I think that's all the tips I have for today. Any photographers that are watching this, if you guys have any more tips for any of the new users out there that are new photographers, go ahead and leave a little comment below to help anybody out that might need some help. You know, any other methods you might think, any tips that you guys might have available in your mind that you might be thinking of, go ahead and put them in the comments. That way you guys, you know, are helping out, you know, too, because you know what, you guys are an awesome part of this community, and I think because of this community, a lot of people are learning from everyone watching these videos. So I'm going to call it a day and say goodnight because it is late, and I hope you all are doing well. All the links for any of the products I mentioned will be in the description of this video, and they are affiliate links, so keep that in mind. But it does help me out quite a bit, so I appreciate it if you guys do buy something. I just hope you're all doing well. I really do, and thank you for subscribing if you have, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, my friends, you all take care, take great pictures, and never stop using your camera. Okay? Hope you're all having a good one. Take care. Bye.